Hello and welcome to the Tim Selinske U.S. Masters Championships here in Eugene, Oregon. This is a PDGA Major. This coverage is brought to you by Ace Run Pro. This is the women's lead card. This event is presented by Innova. My name is Holly Finley.
And I'm Jennifer Allen. Welcome back to the final day. Our leaders, Ohn Scoggins made the cut at 21 under, myself at 14 under, Holly Finley in -5, and then Sarah Hokom at 3 under.
Here we are on hole 1 at the Dexter Disc Golf Course. This is a par 3, 485 feet. There's not a lot of trouble on this hole unless you go long behind the basket. You can really air out on your first shot with as much distance as possible off the tee, hopefully giving you a jump putt or maybe a circle putt, getting a birdie too.
First on the box, from Los Angeles, California, the defending champion, Ohn Scoggins.
Such a fun hole to start. Like you said, just being able to just rip one downhill. Really not a possibility of us reaching the water unless it flips up into a roller. So you really just get to throw it as hard as possible. And the winds today were much lighter.
Next on the pad, from Gilbert, Arizona, Jennifer Allen.
Trusting this destroyer, I really tried to turn it over and let it glide down the hill. Maybe a little too much to not get it to hyzer back, but I'm down there.
Next up, from Bell Buckle, Tennessee, Holly Finley.
I think it's always fun when you get to commentate on yourself.
We do have the inside knowledge, right? Like, I always laugh when the commentators are saying something totally opposite of what I'm thinking. So
I'm throwing a max weight strike off the tee here on hole 1.
trying out a little more ground play than we've seen all week.
Idaho, Sarah Hokom.
And just a little bit later than we've been teeing off all week as well. That's great height and angle to really try to maximize her distance down the hill. And everyone with great drives to get it going.
Our tee time was at 11:09 this morning, which is always a weird spot of whether you want to eat lunch or not before the round. Sarah Hokom with a nice upshot inside the bullseye.
She had went a little long the first time we played this, so I think she was trying to make sure she didn't make that same mistake. It's always fun to play this a course for a second time and try to clean up mistakes.
Ohn pitching up to play the hole for par. And Jennifer Allen from about 35.
Yeah, maybe a little bit longer. Really felt like I gave it enough to kind of get there, and it just dropped.
Hokom sneaks one over the nubs, and she'll take a par here on the first.
Breaking the pole. Connected and in for three. Even softer than Ohn's. Ohn's usually pretty hard. You were excited to get this going.
I had some adrenaline pumping this morning. That's a par for everyone here on the women's lead card. Final round of Tim Selinske.
Hole number 2, 235 feet. This is a par 3. Following this path right here on the right side of your screen, the hole is going to tuck in right after this little green tree. That's the first gap to kind of slide it in. You can also go a little bit longer, and there's another opening down just about 50, 60 feet. The slope does go down, but most of us are getting kind of caught up along the edge there. And the stake is maybe going a little bit too high, so you want to try to either skip it or turn it over in at an angle about like this. Still catching up a little bit, maybe a small roll towards the basket.
Ohn ends up about 35 from the basket with a putt downhill.
I still thought I let this go way too high. Did get caught up, but makes it through most of the way.
Mako turnover?
It was.
I'm going for a sidearm.
Which we don't see a ton of, so that was really cool to see.
On the Pro Tour, we don't have holes that are 235 off the tee, so I shorted my sidearm a bit, so I'll have about the same putt as Ohn. Sarah swings her sidearm a little wide.
Sarah was joking that this was more stable yesterday, but she threw it to her dog Raven maybe a little too much yesterday afternoon, so didn't quite hyzer down there as like she thought. Gives it a strong bid, catches up right there and stays it by the basket.
This is a downhill putt, and the green is fast. It's eroded. The dirt is hard and compacted. A little bit offline and some ground play, and now I've got another circle's edge comeback. Scoggins for birdie.
I think this is the closest to De La I've ever played. Like this hole, really, if you've ever played De La in Santa Cruz, that's kind of how this green is.
Ohn getting a birdie here on hole 2.
That tree definitely in your way. Hard. You don't do a lot of turnover putts, so I was kind of wondering if you would get that to turn. You really had to, I think, to try to make that one. But this directly in the bucket.
All right, happy to save bogey there on hole 2. And Jen with a nice birdie from that turnover shot that just busted through the limbs and ended up in the circle.
We've been talking all week. This course has a lot of turnover shots, but they're short. So the forehand definitely comes into play. Getting the Mako to work out sometimes is pretty difficult. It loves to glide.
Hi, I'm Innova Team Captain Nate Sexton. Welcome to our instructional disc golf series. Maybe even bank over to the right, and that's going to give the putt loft. Slight flex line, so you'll see this come out a little bit higher to give you a variety of different shot shapes. The farthest away player should go first towards the basket.
Here we are on hole 3, a downhill 190-foot par 3. I really like this hole because of all the creative routes you can take to get to the basket. I prefer the straight route, similar to the drone flight, going on the left side of this big tree, or perhaps swinging out barely around the right side. My commentary partner likes a high spike hyzer, which I didn't even see in practice.
I will always look for a hyzer route.
Ohn up first with a down direct route at it.
I think that's her pig, and it definitely, you could tell it really started to get stable quickly.
She's in the circle.
Going Toro, just really soft. You hit the gap, and then you just have to make sure you don't crash into the trees too long.
As soon as you threw that, my caddy said, I didn't even know that was there. Hokom with a beautiful downhill putter shot.
And I'm surprised she doesn't go forehand here, because it really looks like there's a beautiful S line, maybe just too short. This looked absolutely perfect out of your hand. Just catching the left side of that big tree.
It's the last big tree you need to miss. I'm still quite a ways away from the basket. I'm going to say play the hole for par and move on to the next one. Definitely got some tournament juice today.
You did.
Scoggins for birdie. Little low off the front of the cage.
And I was so frustrated with this. I had clearly nothing to really lose here, and Ohn kind of left the door open for me to snag a stroke. I think I just focused so much on hitting the line that just not getting them high enough.
Hokom capturing a birdie putt from the knee, the only birdie here on hole 3 from the women's lead card. I'll save par from about 15.
Hole number 4, this is 206 feet, par 3. You can take the inside route there on the right side, following that little walkway, goes right to the basket. Most of us prefer this left side turnover or a forehand shot. You're gonna sneak in right in front of that big tree there in the middle, and you find your basket. No OB really to find anywhere on this hole. Just the trees.
Hokom with honors after a birdie on the previous hole.
Just such a beautiful forehand route. Goes just a little bit long, but there's a little bit of stuff to make sure it doesn't go too deep. I'm swinging it a little bit wider, going with a destroyer.
Ohn and Sarah from about 17 to 20 feet putting for birdie.
I'm going with the same Mako that I used on hole number 2, getting good glide, just catching that last big tree where I needed it to turn just a little bit more.
Because these holes are short, I'm testing out my forehand here.
And you did not do this day 1, did you?
I did.
Oh, you did? Oh, we didn't play. Yep.
And it came out a little early, so it'll be a surprise as to where it's at when I get there. Off the top hat.
I knew I just didn't want to miss it low again. So a little overcorrection. It's always fun to try to get around that one little leaf.
And it is a rule that you are not supposed to hold things back with your body. Take the stance that results in the least amount of movement.
Excellent putt for birdie.
Ohn Scoggins for birdie. Another one.
I feel like she's going to start heating up here. She missed a few early, so.
I didn't know she ever cooled off, to be honest with you.
I was shocked.
This is Sarah from the knee yet again.
Doing work.
2 in a row. 2 proposal putts, 2 birdies. Love to see it.
I was apologizing to my card mates for messing that one up there.
Here we are on hole 5, a par 3 at 285 feet. This is my favorite hole at Dexter Disc Golf Course. For me, I prefer to throw an OG Mako. It's about 12 years old, right at this cluster of trees on the left. Let it turn over to the right, hopefully end up in the circle and get yourself a birdie putt. If you're not good at that shot shape, you can just play a straight shot and then have a long putt for par or birdie.
Now I know our games are absolutely opposite. This is my hardest, least favorite hole on the course. I don't think the cameras can do it justice of how hard a line this hole is to hit.
Sarah Hokom ends up a little left of the basket and gives herself about a 40-footer.
I think the only way to get to this hole is kind of that higher route. However, it's the most dangerous. So if you're trying to play it a little safer, I think low and straight might be the least dangerous. This had great height. Looked like it was going right at the basket, coming up just a little short and catching there on the edge on the right side. I switched up to a T-bird instead of a Roadrunner on day 1, so I'm going to try to aim right at Conrad. Had a little bit of juice on it, and I'm totally okay with that.
I played this hole with Kale in practice, and as soon as I threw my shot, he's like, yeah, that's a Wisconsin, Minnesota style hole. And we got up there and we were side by side.
Nice.
Ohn pitches up and she'll have to settle for par here on the 5th. And Jen is in the rough, but it's not too far from the basket.
There was very little gap to punch that out. I even kind of changed last second. I was very thankful with changing my line.
And mine was more of a trick putt. I thought I'll just send it up in the air, and if it drops in, it'll be a bonus. No connection for me.
None of us really having a clean look at it.
Ooh.
I don't think we had a good angle on the course to see how close that was to going in.
Scoggins saves par. And hole 5 eludes us yet again.
I didn't catch it. Was this possibly one of the most difficult holes on the course? So look up a little stat Mando call real quick. Be right back.
Hokom capturing a par, and Jennifer Allen as well.
PDGA Event Support Helpline.
Hey, I was wondering if I could add some rules to my tournament to make it a little unique.
Sure. You just need a waiver from the Director of Event Support.
Okay, great. An island green?
Shouldn't be a problem.
And elevated baskets?
Yeah, we get those all the time.
Oh, and forehands only?
Sarah, we've been over this.
Sorry. I mean, but I don't see why we can't try it. I mean, everyone loves forehands. Like, you can go right, you can go left, you can throw straight, you can throw high, you can throw low.
Hole number 6, 493 feet. This is our first par 4 of the day. Going straight at it in between the trees here like the drone is flying, or most of us are taking that left side, trying to flex it back and land it somewhere in this area, because this landing zone gives us a little bit of a hyzer upshot as well as coming in through here on the left side. This is definitely a birdieable hole, 2 good shots, and really shouldn't have too long of a putt.
Hokom up first.
Good height. Misses all the tiny little skinny branches, and it's going to be a great drive.
Scoggins taking a bit of a lower line that we're used to seeing from her.
And I'm not sure she meant to go all the way around there, but it lands back right in the middle.
I'll be choosing a star Roadrunner for this turnover shot.
And this had perfect angle just to get that slow flex back, giving you max distance. Going Wraith, and I had released this high the first time we played it, and I did it again. I should have just tried to go low and straight at it. Catching up pretty early, I believe. I'm ending up here about 260 feet away. I'm going rock and trying to go kind of straight at it. Lifts a little high. I love my rock, how it just slow fades. Really felt like that was going in.
It was a beautiful standstill.
I was like,
That was so close. I was going to bang out so hard.
This is Hokom's second shot. She is taking the straight at it approach. She also doesn't like the height, but ends up inside the circle with a short putt for birdie. Scoggins taking the straight at it approach with her rock. She's also in the circle putting for birdie.
And this is one of those greens, it's nice and flat, but a lot of hard ground. So you really have to watch the speed of the disc coming in there, because You could hit a tree and not go anywhere, or you could slide all the way through.
Hokom from 20.
Beautiful putt. Gonna walk away with the 3. And I wouldn't say this is a soft par 4, but it does allow for a little bit of a slip up and time to correct.
I was able to connect the birdie putt here on the 6th. Jennifer Allen from 15 makes good. Star birdie.
That's a great hole. Ohn and I almost showed up in the exact same shirt today. I changed last second. I don't know if that would have been cute or too much.
I should have worn mine and we could have had the trifecta going on. Here we are on hole 7, a par 3, 372 feet. This is a low ceiling, fades just ever so slightly to the right with the road out of bounds on the right. Everything on the left is in bounds. If you're not good at this long shot shape, you can just throw it straight and have a long jump putt for par.
Going forehand on this first shot really kind of sets you up for having to take a forehand, I feel like, on the second shot. Right side of the fairway, a little more tightly wooded. Going straight at it or even hyzering out is going to leave you a lot more open second shot. Ohn does her only mistake we typically see with that forehand and just burns it out a little low, straight into the ground. Holly finding great air.
And I forget my own advice on this hole. Instead, I try to shape it like the hole, but really I prefer to just go completely straight, end up in an open spot, and have a long open jumper.
Which is what I did, but hyzered out just a little too much. Again, we're
She's back in
excited.
6's fairway again.
Gave it a little too much on that one.
This is Own's second shot, looking to get up the green for a putt. And she's made it.
Stays in safe. I really didn't think we brought that road into play at all. And then I felt like we really pushed the limits on it this afternoon. Holly's hyzering out just a little bit, but open on that side.
And Hokom, a little,
Early.
yeah,
Just
not
really let
quite
it
what
go
she was
early.
looking for, but still, it's inside the circle, putting for par.
I think she has the same difficulty as I do with a backhand approach. When you're that close, it's really hard to get that soft touch. We both were talking about how it's easier at that distance to do what we're not used to doing because we don't have as much strength.
Scoggins slamming her par putt from about 20 feet.
She just feeds off that gallery. She loves to wave and talk with the gallery, which is fantastic. They love it. Sarah loves this putt. Gonna save the par. I almost feel like this hole is just as hard as hole 6. So they kind of gave us one soft one and one hard one here, and somewhere in the middle it'll all work out.
And Jen for par as well. A par's all around here on hole 7.
Hole number 8, 336 feet. This is a par 3. You can risk it and go straight down this beautiful gap that leads to the basket. Most of us are going to choose the outside and go either just inside that tree there on the right with all the leaves, or best case scenario would probably be all the way around that tree and then getting a nice little skip right up there to that number 8 basket.
Sarah Hokom up first, opting for a backhand off the tee at 336. This is very impressive. Inside, tight line.
Nails it. Like, I love to see her confidence continue to grow with that backhand.
Perfect shot. She's within 20 feet putting for birdie. Scoggins up second.
Really seeing a lot of distance from Ohn this week.
Low right side, flare skip, but gets caught up on a tree. She has about a 45-foot putt for birdie. I'm looking to go inside of that bush with a flat shot, star katana, a bit too much hyzer out of the hand, but I'm on the right outside the circle's edge.
I noticed a lot at Circle Bar when you threw that one. I was throwing this one, and it's so funny. They're such an opposite disc, really, but they fly similar for us. So that's a destroyer, and I catch up just a little bit on the branches. I was really disappointed with myself on this hole because I felt like it would just be one of my easier birdies.
I agree
and
with
I
that.
never executed it.
Same for me. It just seems like a stock hyzer around
Yes.
that bushy tree, and you're right there at that log or that stump. And I had that bush in my way. I didn't want to give it, a laser line, so I gave it more of a rainbow loft. Take that one for par. This is Scoggins for birdie. Nails it from way outside the circle. 45, 50 footer. Taking a mini bow with that serious face.
She's got that poker face back on today. Here
She
comes
sure
the putts.
does.
Here they come.
Sarah Hokom from birdie. For birdie. And from birdie.
I love it. I was so excited that she hit this putt because it was such a beautiful backhand throw for her.
I agree with that.
We're going to tap in our pars, and just like that, we're already to the 9th hole.
Ohn Scoggins at 25 under par. Jennifer Allen at 16 under par. Holly Finley at 6 under par. And Sarah Hokom at 7 under par.
How is your putter release so powerful even as far out as 50 feet? A lot of the power on my putt is generated from like a little finger pop / wrist action at the very end. Hold a disc in your hand even when you're sitting down on a couch. You can kind of just pop it up, try to like pop the disc vertical, do this and just slowly practice getting it higher, and you're just really trying to use your wrist, not really your arm. That's how I do it, and that's a tip to how you can do it too.
Welcome back to hole 9, par 3, 259 feet. This is my second favorite hole on the Dexter disc golf course. I prefer a right side hyzer route opposite of what the drone is flying, but this is similar to a forehand route. There's a lot of different ways you can get up to the basket, but I feel like if you can at least make it to these logs, you can get yourself a birdie look.
I'll agree with you a little bit more on this one. I like this hole too. Lots of routes.
Hokom up first.
Huge forehand.
Bottom of the hill, probably about a 40-foot uphill putt.
I love this hyzer route. She maybe needs a little more height to actually get to the basket, but nice clean shot.
This is the same Star Roadrunner I used on that turnover shot a few holes ago, taking the higher right side hyzer route.
I'm just getting good glide, throwing an understable disc on hyzer. I go T-bird, and I just need to get around there and maybe have a look for it. Instead, I'm going to be pretty far back here. I think it was about 100 feet.
Nice jump putt with the Yeti.
And I appreciate that they put the wood chips up here for us. It really doesn't make you have quite the fear to run any of these putts.
100%. Appreciate the chips. Ohn pitches up. She'll have to play for par. And Sarah Hokom lofts it up there, but no connection.
There's a connection.
Able to capture the birdie here on hole 9 from about 15.
And the rest of us are just going to tap out our par putts. And we have 9 more holes to wrap up the 2023 U.S. Masters Championship.
We appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's take a look at the women's lead card scores here. Holly and Sarah tied at 7 under, Jennifer Allen at 16 under par, and Ohn Scoggins at 25 under par for the weekend after the front 9 on the final day. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and share to the PDGA channel. We'll see you for the back half.